back. So today we're going to be looking at the dress pattern, and so I'm going to be using the basic bodice block that I've drafted. I'm going to trace it out, and so on the traced pattern, that's where we're going to create our dress pattern. So it's very, very easy. So follow me as I show you how. Welcome back. So for your dress pattern, you literally create your dress pattern from the basic bodice block. Now, I have said that you should always trace out your patterns using your master block. So your master block is not what you touch. You trace out using your master pattern, and then you use the traced copies to create your design block. So that's what I've done. If you notice, these are still trace lines that I have not drawn out because these are the lines that I want to work with. Okay, so in creating a dress pattern, this is my bodice block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the length. So normally the length of your bodice block is literally, if you measure it on your body, is from the shoulder point. So this is my shoulder point. It's from my shoulder point to my hip, basically. And so you know that most dresses go below the hip. So it now depends on what kind of dress you're making. If you're making a short dress that is above the knee, you can extend the pattern to above your knee. If you're making a knee-length dress, you extend it to your knee. If you're making a floor-length dress, you also extend it to the floor. So for this pattern, I'm going to make a knee-length dress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, this is my fresh pattern. I'm going to add it underneath here. So like I said, this is my stick glue, and this is my paper tape, but my paper tape is almost finished, so I was just going to use my stick glue, and then I will stick here. And so one of the things that I want to say is that I really like to use white paper. That's why I'm minimizing this, till I can get this particular color, because the yellow ones kind of look somehow. They make your, I use it too if that's the only option I have, but I prefer to use the very white, the whiter it is the better, the white paper tape, because it gives a clean look to your pattern. And you know, everything that we do is geared towards aesthetics. You know, it has to be aesthetically pleasing. So yes, so I'm just going to stick this. Okay, yeah, so we have a longer pattern. So I'm going to extend my pattern. So another thing I want to say is that, you know, normally most people start measuring from your waist, but I'm not going to measure from my waist because my waist is uneven. Remember, we dropped our waist by by 0.5 on both sides. So you have a lowered waistline that is not even and is not straight. So I'm going to go by my hip. So this is it. So if my waist to knee, the waist to knee measurement that I got on my body, if it's about 25 to 27 inches, what I'll do is, this is 21, right? Remember that okay, it's 22. This is a standard. So 22 really in inches is about 8.5. So I'm just going to say, 25 inches, which is the length, which is what should be here, right? Minus 8.5, and then that's what you measure. So I'm going to use, so that means that I'm starting from my hip, and then I'm measuring out the remaining. So from my hip, from my side waist to knee, my side waist to knee is 25. So if I remove 25 from 8.5, I should have about 16.5, right? Yeah, I should have 16.5. Good. So let me just quickly do a calculation to be sure. 8.5, this is 0, this is 7. So this is 16.5. So we're going to measure 16.5 from the hip line. So this is my 16.5, and this is where using your long ruler comes in. If you know the measurement in centimeters, you can measure it out. But I'm just using, this is 16.5, I'm using inches. And so please, if you're uncomfortable with interchanging between centimeters and inches, watch that measurement video again. It would help you. So I've made my mark and I'm going to just draw a straight line. So I'm making this bold for you to see clearly. And I'm going to cut this off. Okay, so I have my extended dress block. So this is it. So what I'm going to do right now is to use my long ruler to extend the center front. So don't forget that we label our point. So this is my center front. This is the side. And then this is my center back. So I'm just going to, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to extend the center front line to get to the end so that I can have a full dress. This is pretty simple, very simple. Now there are some patterns, because we're using the Natalie Bray method of pattern making. So there are some patterns that create the skirt pattern separately. So what they do is instead of extending the bodice block, they add the skirt to the waist, and then there's some sort of a space here. So they just adjust the hip line, the side seam, and then they adjust the dart. So that's how some pattern making books do, So there are different kinds of method, but I prefer this one, and this is the method that Natalie Bray uses. It's pretty simple. Okay, so I'm also going to extend. So this is what I'll do. There are different kinds of dresses, right? So the very basic dress pattern is also a straight pattern. So just like skirts, there's a basic straight skirt, and then from there you create your pencil, you create your panel, you create your A-line, you create your flared skirt. It's the same thing as the dress. There's a basic dress pattern, and so in getting your basic dress pattern, you're going to measure exactly what is here. Remember, we used half of 1/4 of our hip, and I think we added about 1.5 inch centimeter allowance. So this is 26, right? This is also 26 because I remember that I intentionally used the same for the back and the front, so that when you cut out and then you're sewing, it doesn't give you this awkwardness that, oh, the back and the front is not the same. Good. So I'm going to measure 26 out to form my side seam. So once I do that, I'm just going to redraw the line from my hem to my hip point. So another thing that I want you to notice the points. This is my hip point. This is my UP point. UP is my underarm point. This is my neck point. This is my shoulder point. So all these things are very, very important. So when I say my UP, my HP, my hem, these are things that you should know. So I'm done with this. So you can see that we already have a front pattern, right? So let's go to the back. Now for the back, I want to highlight some things. Remember I said that you could also have a slanted center front, right? And then I said that if you have the slanted center front, because we've gone in here by 1 centimeter, it comes up here. So imagine if we had gone in by 1 centimeter and we take the line across the chest. So it adds fullness here. So this is the, you know, and then this now comes down. So it's the same thing for the back. If you take, so that is it how you use a straight. So this is a straight center back, you know. So I said that the reason why we have a slanted center back is because your spine is not straight, it's slanted. So a lot of people go, you know, they go in by 2 centimeters and then they draw this. Now if you're using your slanted, then this would not be necessary. So all you need to do is, because you still have this, to be a guideline, and I explained to you why guidelines are important. Guidelines is just to, this is a guideline to help us extend this, you know, because you want to have straight lines, and if you don't have straight lines, there's a tendency for your dress to twist, you know, and not look perfect when you sew it. Good. So I was talking about slanted center back. So you use this guideline to draw this, but if you're not going to use the straight, just cancel it from this. Start here, start here, start here, and end where? Here. So now, if you're going to discard the slanted and use the side, the straight side center back, like I've explained, this too is ease that you added because you thought you were going to use the slanted CB. So if you're not going to use the slanted CB, you're going to have to put it back. So how do you put it back? This is just me reiterating what I explained to you in the dart manipulation video. You put it back here. You put 1 centimeter here. You know, this is 2 centimeters. You put 1 centimeter here and you put 1 centimeter. And then you redraw the dart to this end. 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 So that's pretty much all about slanted center back. But I think we're going to use this one in creating this block. So I've extended the center back line down to my hem. So this is my hem right here. And so this is how the pattern looks. Good. So the next thing I'm going to do is to form my my side seam. And don't forget I said that my side seam is 26. So I'm just going to measure using the center back line. And then I'll mark 26. You know, do this and I'll mark 26 here. And then I'll just draw a line. So we have a completed dress pattern. So this is your basic block. So one more thing, apart from labeling your block, center back, side, you know, side back, side front, and then doing your directions, your arrows that signify the green lines. Another thing that you can do is, because this is a 2D, like I always say, the pattern paper is 2D. It's a square or a rectangle. It's 2D. And you're trying to fit 2D. You're trying to create an illustration of a 3D body. Your body is 3D because of all the curves on 2D paper. So you always have to ensure that the side seam doesn't have corners or sharp corners or kinks, you know, like this. So if you cut it like this, it's going to poke her, and it's not a great look. So what you want to do is even out the curve. So always make sure that your pattern has even curves. So I'm going to do this. I'll use my curve ruler and I would even it out. So it gives me a perfect curve. And then I also see this place and say, oh no, this is not an even curve. So I curve it out too. Can you see? So I've done this here. I'm going to do the same here. And so I've taught you about placement, placing your curved ruler. You want to place it in such a way that it gives you the perfect curve, and it also extends to a straight, it extends as a straight line above and below. So you see it forms a curve here, and then it's also straight here, a little straight, a little, and it gives me a perfect curve here. So I'm also going to do this. So this is how I place it. I find a place where it gives me a curve, and then it also forms a straight line here and forms a straight line here. So this is it. So the only place that you can just permit a, okay, there's no place actually that you can permit a sharp corner. There's really no sharp corner here. Even this back line, even if I don't shape it, it will still find a, there's still this some way, yes, something like this. There's some way you find a curved shape here. So it should never be what's that word? You should never have a sharp corner on any of your patterns. So I'm done with this, and this is my straight bodice block. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut it out, right? Yeah. So this is all about making a straight dress pattern.